Hello, I'm doing a book review on A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. Um, this book, it's all about the humor. But when I got it to learn about the trail, which was a bit of a mistake because the book doesn't, it tells you history and stuff, but it's like, anyway, so in this book, this guy decides he wants to go thru-hike the Appalachian Trail, and he's afraid to go alone, and he's afraid of bears, and on the cover he has a grizzly bear, which they're not even on the Appalachian Trail. There's black bears, so it's like, okay, but most readers won't even know that. In the book, he has a friend, Chaz, that hikes with him and does lots of stupid stuff, and Chaz is this big fatty, and yeah, and they run into like Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen's like my favorite character because Bill Bryson just bashes her and says how sad and pathetic she is, but she's mean too, because she tells them like that they're out of shape and all the gear is bad and stuff like that. But when you get down to it, you find out like they're like littering in the woods, and like half of this book isn't even about his story of hiking the trail. It's about like talking about Earl Schaefer and like the clear cutting that happened, and Centralia, which Centralia isn't even on the trail. So he has all this like filler, like essay kind of things, which whenever I read it, I'm like, I get like a couple sentences in, and I'm like, ooh, he's doing one of those again. So I skip to like where it gets back to the story, and it could be like a couple pages, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna start reading again. So it's a love-hate relationship with Bill Bryson, because when I was hiking the trail, I'd hitchhike and stuff, and these people, they'd be like, oh, I pick up hitchhikers now, or hikers that are hitchhiking, because I read A Walk in the Woods and it was hilarious. And you're like, that's great. And you're like, well, did you know that Bill Bryson didn't thru-hike? Did you know that he didn't even get halfway? You know, he just skipped through parts, and he only did like a couple miles in Pennsylvania, where I live. He only made it to Newfound Gap in the Smokies, which is like 300 miles before he started skipping. And you're like, come on, dude, like, really? You're gonna make this into a book? And then it gets even worse. Bill Bryson has this friend named Katz, right? He's fake. It's not true. This book is labeled under fiction. So a lot of the stories aren't his, aren't real stories, or like they're what he heard or something like that, like he made it up. And in here, it's not like a real thru-hike. Like, you talk to a whole lot of other people, they're not all idiots, and they don't all litter, and some people actually finish, and some people actually have morals. And there's like hostels you stay at with awesome people there, and he doesn't talk about trail days, he doesn't talk about like hiker culture. I don't even think he talks about a privy. He might have talked like shelters a little bit, but it's like, Bill Bryson, you're like, oh, I hiked the Appalachian Trail, but you really didn't. Like, you did, but maybe like a couple miles, and you probably didn't like it, but you're like, I'm gonna make it interesting and make a book. And you're like, oh. So it's funny, it's entertaining. So, but if you really want to know about the trail, I wouldn't recommend it. So that's my review. In and out.